A little bit of your time this morning. I will warn you, I'm going to get a little bit over the 5-minute mark, but in all fairness to me, I'm taking 4 years of lessons and cramming it into 10 minutes, so hope that's okay with you guys. A couple of weeks ago, I think, at my last staff meeting, Jeff asked me what the top 3 moments or memories or lessons of my time here in Blacksburg were. So it's through that framework that I'm going to share with you my story this morning. And it's not my story of faith, it's my story of coming to deeper faith, my stories as it has unfolded here in Blacksburg. I moved here in August 2012. I had been overseas for a number of years. I came to start a PhD program. And it was the re-entry into American life, moving to a place where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know one person in this place. And starting a PhD program that is still too hard for me, even though I just graduated from it, was a little much for me. It was really, really, really hard. And I came undone in so many different ways. Outwardly, I think I was doing all that I needed to do to make sure that life was functioning, but inwardly, I was catching up very slowly. And by January, I had decided, look, I need to refocus. I need to get back on track. So I set a little bit of time aside to focus on the Lord. And that's the first lesson. It's going from all of the re-entry and living a closed-fisted faith once again because I was scared, to learning how to reopen my heart and my life again to the Lord. So January, I set aside a few days. It wasn't what he asked me to do. He asked me to give him more, and I wouldn't because I was scared. And I progressively went through life and adjusted bit by bit by bit. Fast forward to the next January, because I'm a person of tradition and routine, I again set aside a little bit of time to focus on the Lord. And again, it wasn't what he asked me to do. But he was patient and gracious and good to me and allowed me to slowly re-emerge out of kind of this funk that I was in. Pause on that lesson. I'm going to come back to it, but I want to introduce the second lesson because there's some merging there between the 2 lessons later. I don't remember when it was that Jeff preached on this sermon called Hope Again. I don't remember what the passage was, but I remember the phrase, and it's really a phrase that marks my time here in Blacksburg in so many ways. God had begun to replant hope in some ways in my life, and actually it wasn't the hope word, it was the again word. I hadn't lost hope, I hadn't stopped believing in Jesus. I was incredibly active in a lot of different ways in my faith, but I had grown tired and weary, and I think part of that is because I was withholding from the Lord. In the summer of 2014, I was overseas with Jeff and a few others from Northstar. We were developing a ministry opportunity overseas. A few days into my time there, my niece got sick. And the night before we left back to the States, I said goodbye to her on FaceTime. And 10 days later, we buried her on her 2nd birthday. A month after that, my uncle died unexpectedly. I didn't get to say goodbye to him. It was a huge, huge hit to my heart for a variety of reasons, particularly for the role that he played in my life. And then a month later, my cousin was murdered in gang-related violence at home. He was 22 and he left behind 2 little girls. So month after month after month, it was nothing but death in my family, and I was worn out. People would ask me, how are you handling this? And my phrase that I would give them was, hope is the game changer. And I meant it. I had seen God start to plant hope in my life again in some ways. And I could see a difference, visibly see a difference of those who had hope and the way that they grieved through this stuff that we were walking through, and those without hope. And one of those without hope was in my family, and he went on a tirade and destroyed his life in a lot of different ways. 2 years later, my family's still picking up the pieces from his actions. So fast forward a few months to January again, and after 7 months of death and destruction in my family, I was worn out. Mind you, this is not the only thing I was doing. I was trying to figure out PhD world still. I was thankfully involved in ministry, which was incredibly life-giving to me. And I said to the Lord at that time, whatever you want. And once again, I was kind of restored into who I knew that I was, but hadn't been for a while. And I was able to open my hands to the Lord, metaphorically, of course, and move forward. And it was in that time where hope again was planted deeply in my life, and where I once again was able to live open-handed faith before him. I emerged out of that time with a few things, incredibly different in some ways. I emerged out of that time of a deep taste of who he is and his majesty and his goodness, his grace to me for being patient with me. Of course, I emerged out of time, kind of some of the things that Neil talked about this morning, a picture of who I am, not the good parts of who I am, the sinful parts of who I am, and incredible thankfulness for his grace to me. Those are the two lessons. The third lesson that God taught me, or reminded me, is out of Psalm 68:6. God puts those who are alone in families. And he has done that in my life over and over and over again. This was the first time I moved to a place where I didn't know just anybody. I didn't know anybody. And once again, he was faithful to me. In April 2012, once I had gotten word that I got into the program here at Virginia Tech, I prayed two things. God, please provide everything that I need, and please give me a community of faith that will care for me. And that's what he did. And so here I am standing 4 years later, looking back on my life, and thanking you guys for being an answer to that prayer. God puts those who are alone in families. He put me in the Gap family, and in the D28 family, which has been such a mark of, it's just been fun. It's just been fun to be a part of something, starting something here. He put me in my small group family, which is the best small group. Read the blog, it'll make sense. He put me in the Byer family, and in the Cook family, and in the Noble family. And I'm so incredibly thankful that he allowed me to be a part of this Northstar family. So that's my story since coming to Blacksburg. Learning to live open-handed again, learning to hope again, and being reminded that I'm not alone.